Okay, so what happens when defense doesn't show up, and is it going to be that bad of a year for kickers? All that coming up. Let's talk football. So I never thought I would open up with this question. How do you score 61 points in a game and still get blown out by 32?
It's hard to say. Any team who can score 61 points in a game usually wins. They usually win by you know, by a lot. But I mean, that's the difference between Division Three and Division One. Guilford, I believe that's the name of the school that Davidson beat. Davidson scored 91 points and set NCAA records. Davidson had over 900 yards of total offense, scoring 91 points. Davidson coming out of the Pioneer League. Davidson, they're off to a pretty good start so far, but 91-61. That it looks like a basketball game.
I mean, Davidson went 8 for 8 on passing from three different quarterbacks for 256 yards.
But still, I mean, Davidson won. Their offense was rock star. There was no stopping them. It was like a Madden game. But if I'm a defensive coordinator, you give up 61 points to Division Three team Monday at practice, everybody on the line. My defense on the line. Offense, y'all can leave early. Defense on the line.
I mean, you just look at some of these stats. It's ridiculous. The Wildcats average 15.5 yards per play, 13 touchdowns on plays that went for 50 yards or more.
Let's take a look at this stat. Davidson set NCAA records for total yards, which is 964, and they had 685 rushing yards. If I'm I believe it's Guilford. I believe that's the name of the school.
Yeah, Guilford.
Guilford. If I'm defensive coordinator, on the line. Everybody on the line.
Oh boy. I mean, what was it? Combined for 1,662 yards of total offense.
And as far as offense concerned, hey, big ups to the offense. They came to play.
That's when you take regardless of which team you are, that's when you take your defensive coordinator aside, sit down and say, are you sure this is your life calling?
You need to defensive coordinators to rethink their lives. I mean, Davidson got a big win. They won by 30, but still, they got to work on their defense if they want to compete in the Pioneer League.
We had no real major upsets outside of maybe Wisconsin.
If you look at like Sun Belt schools like out of the Power Five versus schools in the Power Five, I mean, you can call it upsets.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, I would honestly say it was a wild weekend in college football. I just want to start off by saying big ups to LSU winning 22-21 against Auburn when nobody gave them a chance. And which LSU, in the first 3 weeks of the season, knocking off two top 10 teams, which is impressive. I mean, and then you have a few people whispering in the wind talking about LSU might be the best team in the SEC. I mean, but that's a long shot considering Georgia and Alabama.
I want to see how they handle Georgia before I make that statement.
Exactly. I mean, with LSU,
then you have Bama coming up.
And that's the reason why you have some people that's still not believing in LSU, because you still got to go against Georgia. Like, is LSU really for real? They knocked off Miami first game of the season. Miami, come off a big season last year. They went to Jordan Hare and ended, I want to say it was a 12-13 game home win streak for Auburn, which was the longest active streak in the nation. And Jordan Hare, that is a scary place to play because it gets hostile, it gets loud, and the Auburn fans, they are passionate about their Auburn Tigers football. And for LSU to go in there, they were down 21-10, and Joe Burrow led a fourth quarter comeback. And what I like about Joe Burrow has one of the lowest completion percentages in the nation right now. He had, he was 15-34 against Auburn, which was very lackluster. But what I like about Joe Burrow, this is the first quarterback we had in a long time who is clutch. I mean, this guy was clutch in the fourth quarter. I mean, a 71-yard touchdown pass to Derek Dillon to basically put LSU within a field goal to win the game. The final drive, he converted on the big fourth down, and LSU was able to get in the field goal position, and Cole Tracy was able to knock in the field goal to win the game for the Tigers. Which, I mean, LSU, there's still a lot of football left to be played. LSU still has a lot to work on, a lot to be improved on, but this is definitely a big shift in momentum in the SEC West. LSU's getting ready to take on La Tech this weekend, which, if LSU's not careful, can be a trap game considering the upsets that's been going on around the nation.
Yeah. I see, outside of Wisconsin and Auburn, LSU, you didn't have anybody within the top 15 losing. Okay, so TCU lost to Ohio State, but that's not a big surprise. But holy crap, man. North Texas beat the crap out of Arkansas.
44-17, and Arkansas turned the ball over 6 times.
Did you see that kick return?
Oh, that was actually like top play on SportsCenter. Everybody is raving over that because, I mean, the signal for fair catch, we wave your arms in the air. The guy never did that, but I mean,
he just coolly, calmly, collectively just walked past a bunch of defenders and
then started running. And then the commentators the commentators were like, well, I mean, he never officially called for a fair catch, but I mean, if you look at it in most games, like, you know what's going to happen, and, you know, to prevent a kick-catch interference, of course, if you get too close, I mean, of course, the guys on the punt team are going to stop, and then referees are going to call it dead, of course, but, I mean, the
referees never did. They never blew the whistle.
But, I mean, I gotta give big ups to the kick returner for North Texas. I mean, just complete, utter situational awareness. Like, this guy definitely knew his rules, and he definitely knew the situation that was going on.
It almost looked like he was expecting to get hit. I don't think that was planned, dude. That did not look like that was planned. It looked like he saw that they thought he called a fair catch, and he played off of it.
I mean, like, it was very impressive. But North Texas, that is a team I might be looking for because, you know, every year you have that team out of the top, that's outside the Power 5 that gets into like a New Year's 6. And a team that kind of like, you know, raises some eyebrows a little bit. A couple teams that I'm looking at. One is BYU. They're undefeated right now, and they had 2 Power 5 wins, which was against Arizona and Wisconsin on the road. And then now you got North Texas, who's been playing some amazing football. Their offense is just on point, especially their quarterback Mason Fine, who is an animal.
So, you know, for the most part, I would call it another typical week in college football. I mean, every week you're going to have somebody beat somebody that they weren't expected to. But we haven't had a signature upset yet.
That's true. Also, I would like to say to a lot of these
Came
big
close.
Came close.
Came close. Appalachian State almost beat Penn State. And that would have been...
And Utah State almost beat Michigan State.
Yeah.
Arizona State beat Michigan State the other weekend. And Arizona State finally in the top 25. They lose to San Diego State this past weekend. And so, I mean, Arizona State has a chance to redeem themselves as they take on Washington this weekend. But also, I like to say to a lot of these college teams, quit scheduling Troy. You schedule Troy, you will lose. I hate to break it to you, but one thing I don't like about the Troy Trojans, you know, they can go and play LSU, they'll play Nebraska, they'll play like a Power 5 school, like a top Power 5 school, and they'll get the victory. But why don't we see that same energy in the Sun Belt Conference, in their own conference, and like, they're supposed to be good in their own prime. I mean, the games are aired on national TV, you get to show the nation what you're about, put Troy on the map. If you really want to put Troy, if you really want to be put on the map, win your own conference, get into a New Year's 6 bowl, then we'll start taking you seriously.
Boy, you got a lot to talk about when it comes to NFL. Bad year for kickers so far.
Oh, God.
Minnesota and Cleveland just cut their kickers, but of course, you know, this is after 2 missed field goals to beat the Packers, and of course the Packers kicker missed a field goal in overtime, resulting in a tie. You had last week
Zane Gonzalez missing that field goal against Pittsburgh that could have given Cleveland their first win.
Pittsburgh's kicker missed a potential game winner.
And it's just, good Lord, these kickers are not clutch at all. I'm just like, well, why are they still in the NFL? Like, are you sure you want to be a kicker in the NFL? I mean, Zanga, I mean, you look at the Saints game against the Browns. Saints are supposed to lose that game, hands down, because the Browns left so many points off the board, mainly off the kicks. I mean, you look at he missed 2 extra points, and he missed 2 field goals. That's 8 points already right there. The score's supposed to be 27-21. Browns win.
Well, you know, kudos to the Browns' defense. They're actually a pretty solid defense.
They are. I mean,
they have now held 2 of the league's premier offenses to 21 points each.
Impressive. I mean, you can definitely see an improvement in the Browns. The Browns made a major improvement. Yeah, right now they're winners. They're 0-2. They're 0-1-1 right now. But these Browns are going to win some games this season. So whoever gives up that first win to the Browns, just brace yourself for it, because it's going to happen. I mean, but I feel that the Browns' downfall against the Saints was that the Browns were too conservative for the most part of the game. They were very conservative, which made the Saints' defense look pretty good, and it just goes to show, is the Saints' defense the same from last season? I mean, yeah, they got a stacked defense, but are they truly what people make them out to be in the offseason?
Well, they did improve. They did show improvement.
Yeah, they show a lot of improvement. DeMar
still have a lot of room for improvement.
Oh, most definitely, because
they did look better. Then again, you know, Tampa Bay's offense did put up 27 pretty handily on the Philadelphia's defense. So that's back-to-back solid defenses from last season that the Bucks have put up points on and moved the ball.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick, an important stat, he put up over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Saints defense, who's a pretty stacked defense. He put up another 400 yards and 4 touchdowns against Philadelphia's defense. And honestly, in my opinion, Philadelphia's a top 3 defense in my book. And so, yeah, I wasn't happy that Tampa Bay won. Of course, I don't like the Bucks since they're in division with my team. But at the same time, it was kind of encouraging, because that kind of tells me Saints defense is not that bad. Bucks are just that.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is completing 78% of his passes right now.
Correction, Ryan Fitzmagic.
Dude shows up in the post game interview looking like Conor McGregor.
Oh my God. And he went from looking like Lord of the Rings to looking like Conor McGregor, like some big shot that only gets the women because of his status and money. Wow, that was bad. Okay. Great job, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Great job. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna start giving him some credit now. Like he's starting to get some credit from me, and he's starting to make a little believer out of me. I mean, he went up against 2 stacked defenses 2 weeks in a row and put up identical numbers.
So, what is becoming of the NFL when you're so bad that your star cornerback retires at halftime?
And when I first heard it, I'm like, this has to be a joke. This has to be a sick joke.
I thought it was a joke too. I thought it was hilarious.
Until one of their linebackers at the post game interview was like, he just left.
Alonzo Alexander.
Yeah, he just left, and I'm just like, is this real life? And I don't care how you rationalize it. You can rationalize it however you want. To walk out on your team at halftime, you basically just left the league on the wrong foot, and you left the league on a very sour note. And like Vontae Davis, I don't care how you rationalize it, that was disrespectful. Complete disrespect. You never walk out on your team like that. I understand that, because I looked at, his retirement message. I mean, I understand that you don't feel the same, you're not feeling like yourself, and I understand that you don't have the same pep in your step like you used to have early in your career. The least you could have done, if you want to walk away with any shred of dignity, was to finish the game out, and then maybe, go to the front office and go to your team and talk to them and be like, look, I feel that it's time for me to retire. Your teammates would have respected you. You would have left the league still with the respect and dignity that you had came in with. But he left with pretty much no respect and no dignity, in which I feel that was a cowardice move.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about. So the Cardinals draft Josh Rosen, 10th overall. but they seem to be in a little bit of a dilemma right now. They haven't got off to a very good start, and this is kind of the time when you will want to like get your big draft pick in there and start learning the game. But the problem is they're paying Sam Bradford $20 million
for just this year, so they want to give him. They want to get their money's worth. They don't want to waste their money. Because, I mean, if you're going to pay a quarterback $20 million in 1 year.
You can't sit Sam Bradford if you're paying them $20 million. It doesn't make sense.
Then you'll just be considered a big bum. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but that is true.
I almost feel like Bradford is just wasting Arizona's money and time right now. Because, I mean, seriously, 0-2 start, average of what, like 10 points a game right now?
The probably the best solution for Arizona right now, if they feel that they don't want to go with Sam Bradford moving forward, they would have to buy him out. Give him his $20 million right then and there.
It was a 1-year deal, so it's not like they would sit there and have a lot of dead money over the next 5 years. I mean, it would affect.
I mean, the best thing to do would be to buy him out, bump up Josh Rosen, probably go get a quarterback who you feel will be a good backup to Josh Rosen. And if Josh Rosen not really doing well, then put that other quarterback in. I mean, Colin Kaepernick's still looking for a team, so I mean, just gonna put that out there. Chicka chicka.
Oh, I mean, you got all this talent on the Arizona roster, but they don't seem to want to do anything with it.
Now that they signed their running back to a 3-year, $39 million extension, but we're not seeing much from him at all.
No.
And it's just they lose Bruce Arians, at head coach. I mean, which honestly he rejuvenized that Arizona franchise. I mean, after what he did at Indianapolis, taking over for Chuck Pagano as he was going through cancer, Arizona quickly took notice. He came to the franchise, and him with Carson Palmer led the Cardinals to a 13-3 season until losing to Carolina in the NFC Championship game. Granted, that was Cam Newton's MVP year, and Carolina went 15-1, ultimately going to Super Bowl against Peyton Manning. But I mean, Arizona is probably something deeper than just on the field. They gotta really get to the root of what's going on, because they are completely out of sync on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So it seemed like the Sam Darnold hype has kind of taken a step back towards reality.
Yeah, and Ryan Tannehill is showing that he still got it, that he is still a formidable quarterback in this league.
I know. Miami is surprising me so far, almost as much, if not a little bit more, than Tampa Bay.
I mean, they're off to a good 2-0 start. I mean, Miami's doing their thing right now.
Which, it's like, how are they moving the ball? Because they really don't have much on offense outside of Amendola, who again is.
They got Kenny Stills. I mean, they got Ryan Tannehill. They also got Frank Gore. I mean, who's older, but I mean, he's chasing NFL history right now. You also got Kenyon Drake out of Alabama, who can be a pretty good gadget player for them. I mean, which that was pretty much kind of his role at Alabama. So I mean, they got some talent. They got quite a bit of talent on offense. But right now they're in the process of truly bringing it together, and I feel they can bring it together this season.
Should be interesting to see how it ends up turning out. What was in there? Oh yeah, total domination by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And Jalen Ramsey, you can say what you want about Jalen Ramsey. Oh, he runs his mouth too much. He backs it up. He held Gronk to 2 catches, 15 yards in that game.
I mean, no Fournette, and yet they come out and they pass, and they pass, and they pass, and actually make completions. Blake Bortles actually played a good game.
He did. I will give him that. He played an amazing game. Jacksonville's for real. They are pretty much dead set on finishing what they left off last season.
So here's the question. If Jacksonville proves to have an offense, do they win the Super Bowl?
Yeah. I will say it. Jacksonville has what it takes to win the Super Bowl this season. Don't be surprised if they come out the AFC. You look at the Patriots. Now the Patriots, they made me a believer again because the Browns pretty much gift wrapped Josh Gordon to the Patriots. So now Tom Brady has a big target, which has me thinking we might be seeing Brady Moss 2.0.
Out of Josh Gordon?
I mean, he finally has a quarterback. Finally has a head coach. I mean, Bill Belichick. I feel that Bill Belichick is going to use him the right way. Tom Brady's going to feed him a lot. Once Josh Gordon is active, Tom Brady's going to feed him a lot. I have a feeling that now it's going to take a lot of pressure off of Gronk, and we're going to see a lot of Josh Gordon out there. But the Patriots, they've always been that team that to be able to use their players right. Bill Belichick is pretty much a player whisperer. He knows how to use his players.
Well, definitely. One team that looks like is on the down and out right now, and it's honestly I'm not surprised at all, is New York Giants. Pretty sad performance against the Cowboys.
New York, I mean, they're in a rebuilding process. I mean, and people are wondering, is it time for Eli Manning to hang it up? And my answer, of course, yeah, it's time for Eli to hang the cleats up, hang the helmet up, and pass the torch on. I mean, he's done a lot for the Giants franchise, bringing in 2 Super Bowls, but it's not the same spark anymore. If I'm making sense. I mean, look at Eli. I mean, Eli did actually have a decent game. He was 33 of 44, 379 yards and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley, I mean, after a monster game against Jacksonville, he only had 11 carries for 28 yards. Dallas has actually been, it's kind of proven that they can play. They played a close game against Carolina and they were able to beat New York. I mean, so Dallas, they're kind of like in the process of, they want to take it one game at a time. So
yeah, well, they have to. So what do you think of Andy Dalton's 4 touchdowns in the first half against Baltimore?
Oh, Lord. I mean, Baltimore's Cincinnati's another team that, they 2-0. They're off to a pretty good start. The Bengals want to get to the playoffs. They serious about trying to make a run. They haven't. I mean, the Bengals have not won a playoff game in how long?
Yeah. So I think we could say, especially after last night, I think we could safely say that Chicago's defense is for real. So what do they do offensively now?
Behind Mr. Trubisky, I mean, he still has some improving to do. He did throw 2 picks last night against Seattle, in which he needs to work on being able to maintain possession of the ball. But the Bears, they are improving. I mean, of course, they had that loss against Green Bay, which kind of stung, after being up 20-0. But they're able to redeem themselves against Seattle, who's still trying to find their identity.
6 sacks. But then again, it is Seattle's offensive line, though.
I mean, true. I mean, but Mr. Trubisky was 25-34, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Still lots of work to be done, but Chicago is trying. They're also a team that's on the rise, that's in the rebuilding process. They're trying to build the franchise around Mr. Trubisky, who's their franchise player. They made a big splash when they got Khalil Mack, and he has been dominant since coming to Chicago.
Yeah, I mean the Bears keep adding defensively. My big question about the Bears that I think success will depend on the development of Trubisky.
It's gonna come down to that. But you look at the Bears. You got Prince Amukamara, Khalil Mack, Danny Trevathan, who's one of the most violent guys in the league, along with Vontaze Burfict for Cincinnati. The Bears have what it takes to be able to make some noise in the league this season. They're going to make some type of noise. Now, will they win their division? Not a chance. I mean, you got Green Bay and you got Minnesota. And a game that I'm waiting to see will be Chicago versus Minnesota. I want to see how much Chicago has improved.
Yeah. So, as a Saints fan, I could definitely say I'm glad to have Marshawn Lattimore But when you sit there and you look at number 10 from that year and how he's performing over there in Kansas City.
Patrick Mahomes dominated the Pittsburgh Steelers. Patrick Mahomes has dominated, and he's definitely utilized Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill to their full abilities. Like, good God. I mean, Patrick Mahomes looks like a Madden quarterback out there on rookie mode.
He passed for what, like 5 or 6 touchdowns?
He passed for 6 touchdowns. He was 23 of 28, 326 yards and 6 touchdowns. His top target in that game was Travis Kelce, all-pro tight end, 7 catches, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And, it was a shootout. I mean, at first, Kansas City was up 21-0 in the first quarter. And then Ben Roethlisberger led a huge comeback. I mean, look at Big Ben, 39-60, 452 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Here's the thing about Pittsburgh, though, is, this happened last year in the playoffs against Jacksonville. They fall behind large margins, and then they make this big charge late that ends up just coming up short. Pittsburgh is not going to win big games if they keep falling behind like that. I don't care how many points they score late.
Now, listen to these stats for Patrick Mahomes of the season so far. He's completed 69% of his passes for 582 yards and 10 touchdowns. Just let that... Oh, and no picks. Just let that sink in for a second. This is a guy... He's only started 2 games so far in his career. He sat behind Alex Smith last season. And, of course, when the Chiefs drafted him at number 10, I knew that Alex Smith's days were numbered in Kansas City. And I knew that that season was going to be his last because they want to go into a new direction. And it's going out pretty great for Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. And I knew Patrick Mahomes was going to be a force to reckon with from his time at Texas Tech. I knew Patrick Mahomes was going to be a force to reckon with. And I was hoping they were going to take him. I didn't know that he was going to go that early, to be honest. I didn't know he was going to go so early.
So a player that was came out on fire last year and was arguably in the leading position for Offensive Rookie of the Year was Deshaun Watson. But he and the Texans have gotten off to a rather slow, quiet start, a little bit surprisingly.
They have. And I thought Deshaun Watson was going to pick up from where he left off last season. You look at he was 22 of 32, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns. And so, he's putting up decent numbers. But he did get sacked 7 times, and he's been hit a league leading 21 times over the first 2 weeks of the season. So it goes down to, we got to take a look at their offensive line. The offensive line is not performing to standard. I think that's what's killing the Texans right now.
Yeah, I didn't know that the Texans had that bad of an offensive line, though.
Now, granted, the Texans did rack up 437. Now, here's what stands out to me about their loss to Tennessee. The Texans racked up 437 yards of total offense, while Tennessee only had 283. You look at Marcus Mariota, he's out. Blaine Gabbert had to take over. He's 13 for 217 yards and a touchdown, in which he's starting to come into his own a little bit. Kind of late, but he's starting to come into his own a little bit, maybe. And so, it's some issues. It's not really just Deshaun Watson. Some issues probably with their offensive line, or probably some more on their defense. But Texans got to pick it up quick.
2 weeks in is already looking like a pretty exciting season, or at least one full of interesting stories. Here's to better performances from NFL kickers.
Let's hope that they pick it up because kickers, come to find out, they are on very short leashes. Let's learn from Nick Folk.
Yeah.
You remember his abysmal performance on Thursday Night Football against the New England Patriots last season? Right after that game, he was released.
Mm-hmm. We already saw 2 kickers released as a result of missed opportunities from this past week. No big surprise there, obviously. But, I want to take this moment to throw an official shout out to our listeners in Ireland and Denmark.
International flavor. Worldwide, baby.
That was actually pretty awesome to see and find out. Unexpected. But yeah, for those who have been listening as of late, we thank you for tuning in. Again, hopefully you join us next week. Follow us on Twitter at AI Sports 3. Find us on Facebook at AI Sports Network. And check out our website, aisportsnetwork.com. I've been John Behrens. And thank you for listening to this week's edition of Let's Talk Football.
Signing out.
Let's talk football.